Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to not do the reviews that I said I was gonna do. So you know what? I'm at a bit of a tricky situation with YouTube because, you know, I thought it would be really smart to upload on a schedule basis where, it would kind of take off some of the workload because honestly, I think, if it were any other like filmmaker, like they would probably like shriek at like the task of having to do a daily video on YouTube and work on two movies, a short film, and a series at the same time. They probably freak out, and so I thought, maybe I can just post like 3 to 4 times a week, and in the spare time, I can work on Gumroad products. But the problem is not with you guys, not with the people watching this video, but the problem is with YouTube. YouTube punishes me for not posting every day. So the Master Chef review that Safi and I just did yesterday, it has like 15 views, and it's very, very irregular, and it's all because YouTube is not going to promote our videos if I don't post every single fucking day. And so I'm trying to figure out kind of a workaround, I guess, because I also don't want to slow momentum to getting 1,000 subscribers. I don't want to slow, that whole thing. Because honestly, I've been doing better with that, with getting subscribers and doing better, like, videos, in terms of, like, doing better titles and things. And so I guess I'm going to have to start doing daily videos, but I'm really, really going to have to do it in a way where it doesn't cause me to burn out, because at this point, like, it is like the recipe for a burnout to do this much work without really much of any benefit, and I hate to say that, but it's true. Like, if I were making, a certain amount of money from doing these videos, then that would be another thing. But I'm just doing it for the fun of it at this point. I'm just doing it to build something. And, to be honest, this platform sucks. This YouTube platform, it isn't what it used to be at all. It has just gotten worse and worse and worse. And that's the weird thing with society, because a lot of people talk about, like, nostalgia's bad, nostalgia's dangerous, like, oh, you're not remembering things that were good back then. You're just remembering what you thought was good. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think we can all objectively say that YouTube was a lot better in the year 2008, 2009, 2010. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And so, that's my little tangent. That's my little sidebar. I was going to see I Know What You Did Last Summer because there was kind of a perfect timing to where Safi and I saw Superman in 3D. I saw it for the second time. And I was going to go see I Know What You Did Last Summer because they had a showing that started right after Superman ended. So I was like, oh, that kind of lines up. But I gotta be honest, I was enjoying Superman so much that I didn't even care. I didn't even want to go see another movie. So I just said, screw it, I don't want to. And then I left and I went home. And so anyways, this is kind of a spoiler review, spoiler talk. It's not really going to be that extensive because, I mean, the movie is very, very much, like, straightforward, and, it's not as complicated as it seems, and I can see how, I think that they did a poor job marketing this movie, because I already said all the things that they did wrong before, but now that I've seen the movie twice, I think that they show way too much in the trailers, And I just think they showed way too much in general. And the only thing that they really tried to hide was the Jor-El stuff and who Ultraman was, which was honestly not really like a big reveal. Like, they kind of made it was a red herring, it was like you thought, oh, maybe that's going to be Henry Cavill or something, because he's supposed to be, I guess, a Superman clone, or maybe it's going to be some other character. No, it's just him. And so that whole reveal, I think, honestly, they should have done a better job marketing this movie. Even though it is doing very well in America, that is, it's not doing very well in other countries, because I don't know what's going on with that too, because this is probably, as I've said before, in the top 10 best superhero movies I've ever seen. It was not only a great comic book movie, it was a great Superman movie. Like, honestly, like I said before, like, I wish, and I do still wish, in the sequel, I really hope that they focus more on Superman and, his characters. Like, I want to see more Clark Kent. I want to see more of that type of stuff. And I want to see less, like, Justice League, Justice Gang stuff. Because, and I think that just has to do with James Gunn and the fact that he can't make a movie without having a team. He always has to have a team with every single thing. Even with the bad guys, even the bad guys all have to have a team. Even all the superheroes in the movies, all of them have to work together. And it really just shows. And I don't think it's not necessarily a terrible thing, but it shows that nowadays, especially with filmmaking, there is an emphasis on teamwork, team effort. It's becoming almost like a team project. Like a middle school, like, you had to do those group projects. Like, that's what filmmaking has become. And so in every single film, though, like, you look back, Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, that's all about a team, the mystery team, or whatever. Yeah, the Scooby Gang. You just call them the Scooby Gang. Why did I say the mystery team? It's the Mystery Machine. Okay, I'm fucked up, okay? But, and then Dawn of the Dead. He wrote Dawn of the Dead. That whole movie was about a team. About, at first it's all about the girl, but then she gets to the mall, and it becomes about a big group of people, a big team. And then Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, 3, it's all about a team. And then this movie, all about a team, basically. It's not really, like, there is, I can see other people have said that the reason why the Justice Gang is there is because it's to show the effect that Superman has on people. Because later on in the movie, he influences, like some of the, I don't know what you call it, like jerkier members to do good things, to do positive things for the world. And it's because of Superman's influence. And so I can see where people are coming from, but again, there is this kind of strange thing where every single thing has to revolve around a team. And, even Lex Luthor, like every single, I know that a lot of people, when you guys saw my first video, my non-spoiler review, when I was saying that Lex Luthor needs to do more evil things, what I meant to say was he needs to do more evil things by himself. The part where he kills the Malik, I can't remember, the guy who helped Superman earlier in the movie, that scene is great because that's Lex Luthor doing something evil. The scene where Lex drags Eve out of the closet is scary, and it's Lex doing something evil. But in all these other scenes, what's he doing? He's standing in this computer room, and he's directing people. He's like, "Fuck!" 5B, 6-1, 2B, 2W, like 10Z. He's just barking orders at people. He's not doing things himself. And it was very realistic, though, I mean, for his character, but still, like, I want to see less in future James Gunn movies. I want to see less movies and less scenes where characters have to rely on each other. Because it's weak. It's weak and pathetic. And I'm not saying the movie's bad. I'm just saying, in general, it could come across as very weak. And, obviously, like, teamwork is great. Having a team is a really nice thing. But if it becomes a crutch, if you can't be something without a team, then who are you really? Like, I just worked on a short film. And pretty much all of the I would say like 80% of the bad things that happened were because I let other people do things that I shouldn't have let them do. And so, it created this kind of like group project feeling. And there are some things in the movie that I'm going to need to fix. And a lot of things that I had to fix in editing. And I think that if there is a Superman sequel in the near future, I really hope that he leads more of the movie himself and that he does things himself, because in almost every single scene in the movie, he has to have someone else help him, or he has to have like Crypto help him. And it just got to the point of where I was like, okay, this is getting really, really bizarre. Like, this is Superman. And there is a redemption, though, in the fact that near the end, he wakes up. It's like all of a sudden he wakes up and he's like, brain beats brawn. And then he executes his plan, and then that's where he takes the lead. And I really like that part. That part was the best part of the whole movie, because it was like a payoff. And I do admit, though, James Gunn did this on purpose. He admitted in interviews that he wanted Superman to be weak, or weaker, so that, he wouldn't be as, like, inhuman. He wanted to make him more human, so that he's not just really overpowered and stuff like that. And I just think that no matter his intentions, there's other people who took the wrong message. And it's partially because this movie is not an origin movie. It just jumps right into things. And so, they have this little caption at the beginning of the movie where it says, for 3 years, Superman has not lost a battle. And nobody who criticizes this movie mentions that. Nobody. Okay, I know someone who saw the movie. He said that it was mediocre, which, of course, that's just code for it was good, but I want to not like it, so I'm just going to call it mediocre to, make a dig at it. But he said that the whole movie, Superman's weak, he loses every battle, and it's like, did you miss the part at the beginning of the movie where it said that he hadn't lost a battle in 3 years? And did you miss the part in the movie where it pays off at the end, where he finally, gets his strength back and he beats the bad guys? Like, that happened for a reason. So, I think that that's kind of an issue to talk about. And then I will say, too, what was really interesting about seeing this movie a second time is, I rarely ever see a movie twice in theaters. I saw Killers of the Flower Moon twice in theaters, or 3 times. I saw Thunderbolts twice in theaters. I saw Endgame twice in theaters, but that was literally only so that I could, see it with Safi and see it in 3D after I saw it in regular the first time. So that wasn't like, I didn't want to see Avengers Endgame again, because honestly, it wasn't very good. It was really boring and bad. And I think it's probably the most overrated MCU movie of all time. So, anyways, what was really interesting was that this movie, the reactions that I had, the emotional reactions, they were almost all just like if I hadn't seen the movie at all. Like, that's what was really, really strange, was that I enjoyed the movie so much the second time, it felt like I had never seen it before, and it felt like I was experiencing all of the same reactions again. And so I thought that that was really interesting, because I didn't expect to feel that. You know, I didn't expect to be like this invested in a movie in theaters a second time. So I heavily enjoyed it, even though I've already seen it before. In fact, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more. The one question that I still have is, how did Superman, what was the strategy when he got the nanites out of his body? Because I just didn't understand. Like, I saw what happened. Like, he took them up into outer space. He took the Engineer and Ultraman up into outer space, and then he went back down to the Earth and just ran them into the ground. But what did that do? Like, is it because the Engineer became unconscious that he was able to finally get the nanites out? Because that was a little unclear to me. And it might be really, really obvious to some people. I asked the other person who saw it, and he couldn't give me a valid response. He just made a joke instead. And but I don't understand how he got the nanites out in that moment. So I would love it if anyone else had like an explanation, because from what I gather that him knocking her unconscious made it so that she couldn't manipulate the nanites anymore, and so therefore they would just come out, and they would just, disengage. That's what I gathered. And so I would also say my experience seeing this the first time was a little bit kind of ruined by the actual screen that I saw it on. I don't know what it was like. The first time I saw it, I had to go all the way to the back of the theater to a screen that I don't think I've seen in a long time. It was all the way to the back, and the screen itself, it had kind of like folds in the screen, and at the beginning, the captions, they were cut off, and the music, the volume wasn't very loud, and so that screen kind of like, tainted the experience a little bit. So this was like seeing it for the first time, seeing it in RPX with 3D. I thought that it was a lot of fun, and Safi really enjoyed it too. She said that, again, it was a lot of fun. She loved it. She thought it was really good. She definitely saw the Israel connection too. And that's another thing, is that once you see it a second time, you can pick up on even more little touches that they put in the movie to make sure that you knew that it was Israel. And I think, and I'm not certain, but I think that they wrote these in like as they were developing the movie. For instance, you guys know how Trump made some kind of a deal, some sort of a retard deal where he could own some of the land in Palestine and turn it into like a resort or something. So in this movie, they had it to where Lex Luthor, once Baravia, commits a genocide in Jarhanpur, Lex Luthor gets to take half the land. So it's exactly like Israel, and it's so amazing that the first movie in the DCU is just a giant fuck you to Israel. I mean, it is like the greatest, like, I'm so glad that James Gunn was allowed to make this movie just to give the middle finger to Israel. So yeah, I love that. I think that that's probably one of the best things that I've seen in a while in terms of, I don't like it when they put politics into movies. I don't like agendas. I don't like, for instance, like, let's just talk about the Thunderbolts for a second, because that movie, it had a couple of little things in it, but there's this modern agenda, and I don't know why it is. I think it's kind of like misplaced, like, girl power intentions, but in all these modern movies, they never let a woman get into a romantic relationship unless it's gay or lesbian. They never let a woman get into a relationship with a man in a modern movie. Never. And especially in MCU movies, all the main characters, they do not let them do that anymore. And it's basically, it feels like it's so that, like, the female characters can be strong and independent. But what happens is that, in real life, people have relationships and people get into romances all the time, or they should. That's a part of the human experience. It's a very fun part of the human experience, if you know what I mean. And so it just takes away humanity from these characters. And so you see in Superman, everyone who loved the movie or even hated the movie is saying that they loved the romance between Superman and Lois, between Clark Kent and Lois. Everyone. Because romance, again, everyone loves romance. Okay, like, they won't admit that nowadays. Like, nowadays it's like, oh, they had that one study where they said that, like, Gen Z, like a group of 1,000 Gen Z retards, said that they think that romance is uncomfortable or some bullshit. And it's like, no, like, normal people think that romance is awesome. But I just saw recently the director of the Thunderbolts movie, he decided to shoot himself in the foot. And he said that Bob and Yelena are not supposed to be romantically involved. And that, I just thought, oh my God, what a fucking idiot. He just sabotaged his own movie post-theater release. And honestly, now I can firmly say Superman is way better than Thunderbolts. And the number one reason why, besides the fact that it's just better regardless, the number one reason is because there was romance in it. We need more romance in modern movies. That's another thing people don't really realize, is that, there is this growing kind of divide between men and women, and it's very much like a part of the programming of modern society is to divide men and women. But I wonder if people have ever thought about, maybe there's such a strong divide because there aren't very many romances in modern movies. Except for certain kinds. And that's not to say that, there shouldn't be all kinds of romances in movies, but there's a very strong focus on certain kinds versus other kinds. And it feels like maybe if we started having romances in movies again, does anyone think does anyone notice that? Like, maybe society could start healing the divide if we started seeing more, like, positive romance, we started seeing more, relationships in movies. And so I really, that's honestly a big reason why this Superman movie is good. Like, I will say, if this movie didn't have a relationship between Clark and Lois, it would not be good at all. It would probably be a C-. It would be getting close to being as bad as Man of Steel, because in Man of Steel, there was no real, like, romance or relationship. It was just, this guy has to be with this girl, and they meet and they like each other. Like, there's no actual romance that develops. But in this movie, it does feel like a real relationship developing. And I love the fact that, I didn't even notice that at the end of the movie, Lois said that she loved Clark as well. And that is a failure on my part. I don't know why I didn't notice that. It might have just been, again, because of the screen and because the volume was not very loud. And so, yeah. I still stand by mostly all the other stuff that I said in the non-spoiler review. I would say that I love the song at the end of the movie, the punk rocker song. I'd say that's gotta be one of the best uses of a song in a superhero movie ever. I thought that it was so complete. Like, it made the movie feel so complete. Another thing I realized is that James Gunn, he likes to do a lot of paralleling. He likes to do a lot of story paralleling in his writing, which is really cool because that's what I like to do. And so at the beginning of the movie, you see Superman, and he's surrounded by, civilians, people that love him. And then there's the news broadcast that's shown that, shows the message from his parents saying that, come to Earth and take it over and fuck a lot of bitches. That's what the message basically said. And, everyone turned on him, and it was a very dark moment in the film. And it was like, there was something about that. Like Lex Luthor, too, he was above Superman, physically, because he was on television. He was above him. But then, at the end of the movie, my favorite part is definitely the part where he whoops some ass, and he goes into the ship, or whatever, I guess you would call it the ship, the computer room that Lex Luthor is in for the majority of the movie. And he confronts him, and there is a parallel to where Lex Luthor isn't surrounded by people who actually love him. He's just surrounded by people who work for him. And at the same time, at that point, all these screens light up, and they say, the news broadcast, they report on how Lex Luthor is a traitor, blah, 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 blah. And so in that moment, Lex Luthor is paralleling Superman at the beginning of the movie in such a beautiful way. It's so perfect. And so I thought that was really cool. And also, Superman is above Lex Luthor in that moment. He is physically above him. And so, yeah, that's what you call masterful storytelling. That's what you call someone who knows what he's doing. He's not just making MCU slop. He's making art. And he's making a great film. And another thing I noticed, and I like this little touch. Lex Luthor at one point, he said that all clones are imperfect. And I thought, that was so interesting because it felt like that could be I need to use that when I market my first movie, which is Dr. Imperfect and the Perfect Man, because I call it that because, it's that's what that movie's about. It's about cloning, and his clone is imperfect. And so I thought that was great. And there was also another weird thing that happened in the movie, and you guys aren't going to know about it until you see the short film. But there was a part in the movie that was literally exactly like something that happened near the end of mine. And it felt really strange. And I hope that there is one person in my audience who has seen my short movie. And I wonder if they'll be able to tell which part I'm talking about. Because, it was very, very specific. And it was like, wow, that's kind of funny. I mean, I'm almost like I might do a little reshoot with that, because just one shot or two, because the way that James Gunn shot it, it was a little bit better, but what I was doing was different. But anyways, those are just two little personal things. I know that those aren't really related to like doing a review, but there's just a couple things that I thought were kind of weird, but kind of fun. And I would also say, I hope that we get to see more of Perry in the sequel, Perry White, because he wasn't that strong of a character. Like, he was really, really just kind of there. And, you know, Lawrence Fishburne, he's Lawrence Fishburne. So, you know, like, and it's funny because a lot of people have said that in, you know, this Superman that everyone yells the whole movie, which is completely false. But it's funny because Lawrence Fishburne, he's always yelling. You know, especially in Man of Steel, he yells the whole movie. In Hannibal, he's yelling all the time. He is an actor who likes to yell. And so it's funny because I think Lawrence Fishburne probably would have been a little bit better as Perry White in this movie, but like Perry White in this movie in general, he didn't really have much to do. So again, if there is a Superman sequel soon, I really hope that we get to see Clark Kent, the Daily Planet, more of that stuff, more of that kind of, you know, being Superman, but then also having to be Clark Kent too, because I think that would give more of a feeling of like the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, which is what I think that this movie was kind of trying to emulate at certain points. And so, yeah. But overall, I love this movie. I'm so excited for the DC Universe. I'm so excited to see Lanterns because I'll get to see more Guy Gardner. I'm so excited to see Supergirl. And I'm really excited to see what other project. There's one other. Clayface? Is it Clayface next year? Yeah, I think so. I'm really excited. And I think that that's one thing that I can't say about Marvel. I'm not excited about Fantastic Four. I'm not excited about Doomsday at all, because they have not built up to that at all. You know, if anything, it kind of just feels like a desperate move to counter DC. And so I'll say that, like, I'm excited for the DC Universe, but I'm not excited about Marvel anymore. And in fact, it just makes me kind of angry because the characters that they're working with in Marvel now, like Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four, I wish that they had gotten handled properly. You know, I can just tell they're probably not going to be good. And, I knew that Superman was going to be good. I never really had very much of a doubt that it would be like a good movie, at least. I didn't know if it would be a great movie, but it did turn out to be a great movie. But Marvel movies, I don't think so. I'm not feeling them. I'm just not feeling them. Like, they feel so safe. They feel so safe, and they don't feel like they take risks anymore. They don't really feel like they're for everyone anymore. They just kind of feel like they're bland, four-quadrant slop. And if you guys don't know, quadrants is like, sections of the audience, like different age groups. So like, you might take stuff out of a movie if you don't think it's going to appeal to quadrant 1. If it doesn't appeal to teenagers, you might add this thing in to appeal to quadrant 2. And so that's how you get bland, bad art made by committee, is by doing stuff like that. So anyways, yeah. I'm really glad to talk about this movie again. I hope that you guys found some enjoyment out of it, because I was going to include Safi, but, she needs a little break too. We did the laundry today. That's right. You know what? I know that I'm not going to do a food review because I've already done a food review for Superman, but I gotta tell you guys about my experience at Raising Cane's. You guys know I love me some fried chicken. I love fried chicken. And I went to Raising Cane's. I got a Caniac combo with a small lemonade. And so the first red flag was the person who took the money was a biatch. She was not nice. She didn't have a smile. She was like, it looked like she was having a terrible, like, she just didn't want to be there. And I'm sorry, but, like, people who work in these retail jobs, they need to start smiling and start being nice, because it just leaves a real bad impression on people. And so I could tell this food was going to be food with a frown. It wasn't going to be food with a smile, if you guys know what I mean. And by the way, too, I gotta say, the engineer is the hottest DC character so far. And I won't say anything more. That was so random. But anyways, this food, the moment I touched the lemonade, I knew it was going to be garbage. So I set the food down. I had to set the food down on a counter. And then I drank a sip of the lemonade, and I thought, wow, there is hardly any ice in there. It's not a hot day, so they just deliberately did not put very much ice in there. And the lemonade, it hardly had any sugar, and it hardly had any lemon flavor. So it just kind of tasted like Lex Luthor's wee-wee. And by the way, there was something that they added to the theater that they didn't have last time. They had this thing where, if you get lemonade, which I should have gotten it because I would have been so curious to see how it tasted. If you got lemonade, you could make it green for an extra $1 so that it could be kryptonite lemonade. It's just so funny. Like, why would you want to drink a drink that looks like Superman's weakness? Like, why would you want to drink a drink that looks like the thing that kills Superman? It's so goofy. But anyways, the chicken was extremely hot. And I know what you're thinking. Marco, don't you want your food to be hot? Yes, I do. But not that hot. Because you can tell that they overcooked it. Because the temperature was so hot that it was like boiling hot, even after, I waited around a few minutes to eat it. So it was that hot. And I could only eat 2.5 chicken tenders out of 6. There were 3 chicken tenders, and they were so bad. Some of them, the breading was all wet, and it was hardly, holding on to the chicken. And even the chicken that I ate, it was overcooked. It was hard. The texture was bad. But there were 3 tenders. They were so hard, you could not even break them apart. That is the big tell. If you guys get chicken tenders, take a chicken tender and just break off a piece. You know how they say, break a piece off of that Kit Kat bar. Break a piece off of that tender. And if it breaks off really, really easily, that's how you know you have a good chicken tender. But these did not break apart at all. They were like rock hard. They looked like those sardines that gave me food poisoning last week. And so it was such a dissatisfying lunch. Number 2, they shorted me on the fries. They gave me like half of a serving of fries. I didn't even bother eating the coleslaw. Even the sauce was weird. The Cane's sauce, because they put one of the sauce containers on top of the chicken. That was weird. It was like it was just thrown together. no love, no smile, no service with a smile. You know, Superman, he smiles the whole movie. Everyone needs to start smiling. Just pretend that you're the Joker and you just can't stop smiling. And you'll be nicer. You know, it's about kindness, just like this movie. This movie's all about kindness. And I will also announce I will be watching Peacemaker Season 2 because I do want to see the hints that are going to be in it about the future of the DC Universe, because James Gunn did say that you have to watch it to see, like, it'll give a couple of clues to see what he's going to do. But I'm not excited because I did not like Peacemaker Season 1. I didn't like the characters. I thought that it was nothing like the Suicide Squad movie, and it was kind of disappointing. So I'm really not excited for that, but I will watch it anyway. And so look forward to that. And tomorrow, I will be reviewing Dexter Resurrection, Episode 3. So please like this video, comment. I know it was all over the place, but who cares? And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.